There's nothing better than coming home from a long day at work to a hot meal that smells delicious with minimal effort. Today we're showing you some easy slow cooker hacks that will change the way you cook. Here to talk us through it, we've got Julie Van Rosendaal and Elizabeth Choorney-Booth. Good morning. You're with Best of Bridge, the family slow cooker, and this has been selling out since its inception decades ago.
That's
Why
right.
is it so popular, do you think?
Well, I think people love Best of Bridge as a brand because it's home cooking, it's easy to do, ingredients everybody can find, and it's a little less intimidating than a lot of more complicated cooking techniques.
Funny you say that because Tammy and I were both saying the same thing. We worry about leaving an appliance on, right? Which is what we've always been told, shut off the stove, unplug the toaster, don't leave a candle burning. So how do you get used to the idea of leaving something to cook while you're away all day?
Well, you just do it. And when the house doesn't burn down, you're like, cool, well, I can do this again. But if you are nervous, you can.
Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
You can do it overnight.
Okay.
Although I keep waking up thinking something smells delicious, like I'm hungry. Or you can do it in the evening, right? Like when you get home from work, you can turn it on, have it cook until you go to bed, then cool it down and stick it in the fridge. Because most braises and stews and dishes that are really good in the slow cooker, chili, curries, they taste better after a day or two in the fridge. So you can make it ahead when you're at home or on the weekend, right?
Okay,
like
so get it
Saturday
started.
morning, you're at home, you're puttering around, you can have it going.
So what we're making today, we're making pulled beef. So it's great, you can do it in the slow cooker, it falls apart, melty, delicious, and you can make sandwiches out of it, which is perfect.
You can buy these tougher but cheaper cuts because the process of it taking hours actually breaks down the fat fibers, right?
Precisely. This, like a cheaper cut, a pot roast, a blade, something like that, actually tastes better than if you were using a more expensive roast.
Really? So what is this called, this cut?
This is a blade, but anything that's labeled a pot roast, anything that needs a long, slow cooking time is perfect for the slow cooker. So if you're doing pork, a pork shoulder is perfect. And like Elizabeth said, they're cheaper and they have more flavor. Once those tough connective tissues break down, which needs time and low temperature, there's a lot more flavor. So we like to brown it first. Elizabeth's going to put some onions in the bottom of the pan.
So how long did you brown that, and what type of oil is it?
Just something neutral like canola, any kind of vegetable oil will work. And 5 minutes, honestly, it makes a huge difference because that's where you get all the flavor, those brown bits. That's how you make gravy, right? The brown bits in the bottom of the pan. And so if you have an extra 5 minutes, you can, people love just throwing it in, turning it on and going. But if you spend an extra 5 minutes and just brown the meat first, and then if you want to take your liquid, your stout or your stock, your cider, you could really use any kind of liquid you like. If you don't want to use beer, you can use just beef stock.
Sorry, was it 5 minutes each side, and is it a high heat?
High heat, just until it's brown. It doesn't really matter, just as long as you get some color on it.
Each side?
Yeah, all sides. Yeah, even the sides. As much brown as you can get on the meat, the more flavor you get. So if you want to deglaze the pan, get some of those little brown bits out of the bottom, and then throw the rest of your ingredients in.
So what we're doing with this is we have some barbecue sauce. If you can buy your favorite kind, you can make your own barbecue sauce in the slow cooker too. But for ease, you can just use.
You just throw it all in there, right?
You just throw it in with some garlic.
So that's what takes the time, really, is the chopping the garlic. It's things like that, don't you find?
Yeah, but I use a rasp and just like grate it right into the, this is all pre-done, so it's very easy.
Some grainy mustard.
That's different.
Yeah.
Some brown sugar.
A little sweet, a little tangy.
Okay. And you just throw it in there like that. You don't have to mix it.
No, because it all kind of comes out in the same place, right? Like it just all kind of does its thing. Then we have some balsamic vinegar.
Oh, really?
Or apple cider vinegar is good with pork.
And then we're making this one with beer. So this is a dark stout.
Okay.
The darker the better. It just gives it a lot of flavor.
Obviously, if you have kids, this is nothing you have to worry about because the alcohol evaporates.
Mostly. Oh. That's a whole other segment. That's a whole other segment. But you can, if you don't want to use alcohol, you can use like apple juice or stock or tomato juice. Like they're all any kind of liquid, even coffee. Well, not with kids. Don't do that.
Okay.
So then
cover it up.
Cover it up.
And then most of the sort of big roasts take about 8 hours to really fully break down. But there are a lot of recipes that take less than that. 3 or 4 hours. In the olden days when they first came out, slow cookers were made for people who were going to work. working moms who wanted dinner on the table when they finished, and they would typically be 8 hours. So a lot of things got overcooked. When it's a big piece of meat like this, 8 hours is great, but if you're doing chicken or something, you don't always need a whole 8 hours.
What temperature is it at?
We always do low.
Low, yeah. I mean, a lot of them do have high settings, and some things like pastas or rices might want a higher, but it's a slow cooker. It's made to cook slow. So
not high.
I think low gets you that breakdown that you really want.
And the biggest mistake you can make is doing one of these every half hour. Why?
Yeah, so it cooks because the heat is in here. So when you do that, it goes, whoo, it all comes out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to discourage people from checking if it's done towards the end and if you need to cook it a little longer, but every time you take it off, I would add 20 minutes to your cooking time.
And that's why it's glass.
It's glass, so you can look through.
You can see through.
Yeah, you can
Do you
look.
have any other cheats or hacks, as we call it, when it comes to slow cooking? So don't lift the lid.
Don't lift the lid. Get to know your slow cooker because some of them run a little bit hotter than others. This is
Look at that.
me
So this is the
breaking
finished
down.
product.
Yeah.
Another thing, is it set to timer? Let's say you get stuck in traffic or something, right? So you're past the 8 hours. Can it shut off?
The newer ones do. I mean, the older ones have like an on and off or a high and low. The new ones will turn on to warm and just sort of keep your food warm, which is great. If you're having a party and you want to do something like this, which is perfect for a crowd, you can just set it on warm and it won't keep cooking, it won't bubble. It'll just be warm enough to serve. So get to know your slow cooker. Some of them you can program. You can set it for 7 hours and 15 minutes if you want.
To be precise.
You can be super precise, but you really don't need all the bells and whistles. We tested with all kinds of slow cookers, and if you have an old one that's got high and low, that's perfectly fine too.
Okay, now you have herbs here. Why did you bring dried versus fresh?
Well, we just wanted to talk about sort of when to add some ingredients to the slow cooker. When you're using dried herbs, you usually don't need as much, about 1 to 3, a teaspoon of dried herbs versus a tablespoon of fresh herbs. Something woody and sturdy like rosemary you can add early on. Something more delicate like fresh basil or parsley. Fresh sage is beautiful. Fresh mint you sort of want to add at the end so that it keeps nice and bright and
stays
flavorful.
bright and green.
Yeah. So
And you make desserts in your slow cooker?
Yeah, you can make so many desserts
So
in the slow
many.
cooker, which, I didn't know how much you could do with it until we wrote this book. But things like we brought some coffee pot de creme, which is a custard. So you make them in the cups in the slow cooker. You kind of stack them inside and then put some water in, and it creates a water bath. So it just steams them to custardy perfection.
As long as it's a heat-resistant cup, like the kind you would put in a dishwasher.
which coffee cups are?
Yeah.
Because they're made for coffee.
Right? It makes so much sense when you speak.
Right?
We have our 3 carnivores who are wanting to try this beautifully broken down, delicious smelling braised beef. Braised beef, hashtag.
Brie would be delicious too.
Can I just say, one of the slow cookers that I found is actually connected to Wi-Fi. So if it turns off or something happens, you can actually control it from your phone when you're at work through an app.
Kidding me? You didn't know that,
There's a
smarty
Wi-Fi
pants.
connected
You
slow
didn't know
cooker.
that, smarty pants, did you?
It's not the 50s anymore. I did not. You schooled me good.
Guys, thank you so much. BreakfastTelevision.ca for all of these recipes. And I have to say, the studio smells incredible. Are you salivating? We're salivating?
Oh, yeah.
That's great to know, Winston. So pick it up, enjoy.
I'm gonna just do this.
Let us do the cooking for you. More BT after this.